Hello, Bobby, aka Anarcha Media here, and in this video, I would like to talk about the amazing digital circus and why I feel as though the character of Jax in particular is the most misunderstood character in um, that entire series, and I will avoid spoilers as much as possible, and uh, and I expect y'all to have the courtesy, the to do the same, as I have yet to see the last act finale film, and intend to do so in the very near future. So please do not spoil anything about that film at all for me. Okay, I know that certain segments of the amazing digital circus fandom are notorious for toxic behavior and spoiling. So I'm going to kindly ask y'all not to do that. Now, um, Now, Jax is one of the most controversial of the main cast in the Amazing Digital Circus series for many reasons, some of them justified and some of them based on a very shallow view of Jax's character that relate to this artificial persona he constructs in this amazing digital circus environment to sort of push people away from him, right? In because in because spoiler alert, in his real life when he tried to be his authentic self or their authentic self to their family, they were rejected for it. And so they sort of gave up this hope of authenticity altogether, right? And basically leaned into this sort of wise guy, violent, uncaring, everything's fake, so why give a fuck about anything or anybody anyways? Why bother to make friends with anybody if they'll just leave or get abstracted anyways? Sort of persona, sort of facade that he puts on. And of course, that's not to say that Jax's actions in that regard are not deeply fucked up or morally laudable in any way, as they are not, and they're not supposed to be. Um, Again, Jax's whole philosophy, uh, um, be like I, um, like I see a lot of parallels between Jax and the Amazing Digital Circus and Cypher in The Matrix, as well as Angel Dust from Has Been Hotel. And the funny thing is, both the pilot version of Angel Dust and Jax are voiced by Michael Kovac, and yet, ironically, Jax also parallels the series Amazon Prime version of Angel Dust, voiced by Blake Roman, in that they both are people who were basically rejected by their parents for being queer in the real world. Um, the father in Angel Dust's case and the mother in Jax's case, and but what fucked Jax arguably even more so than Angel Dust is like Angel Dust for all his shitty lot in life, for all the abuse he endured from his mafia boss father, his homophobic mafia boss father, and his employer Valentino in hell. Um, but Angel Dust genuinely had people who cared about the real him, like Charlie, Baggy, and Husk, who lovingly called out his bullshit and his counterproductive sinner behaviors, right? Um, the behaviors that made it very difficult to redeem himself. Um, and but Jax, I would argue even more so than Angel Dust did not feel worthy of redemption or even companionship, deep friendship, because when he tried to be their authentic self to their family, they were laughed at for it. And so, as a coping mechanism, they gave up on the notion of authenticity altogether and just leaned into being this irreverent, violent, cruel, apathetic, borderline nihilistic, and sociopathic funny guy rabbit character, right? So in Jax's mind, all of his all of his cruelty, all of his nihilistic attitude towards his life in the Amazing Digital Circus and the other characters' life in the Amazing Digital Circus was sort of justified by, oh, all this is fake anyways. We're like our real lives were shitty anyways, and it's stupid to have dreams. It's stupid to uh, really try to do anything. And the irony is, like, when Gangle um, said said it's nice to have dreams, but you shouldn't really try. The the irony was, like, if Jax really believed in the in what he was claiming to believe to the extent he was claiming to believe it, he would have agreed with Gangle there. And yet he was resistant to being made something that was that deeply inauthentic to themselves. So as much as they guffawed at the idea of authenticity, in reality, deep down, they really strove for it. In reality, they really wanted friendship, but they didn't feel worthy of it because when they tried to be their authentic selves in the real world, they were rejected by the person who was supposed to love them most, the person who gave birth to them. And ironically, and and ironically, as they were committing the act um that was their most shameful and violent and the ultimate betrayal of their humanity, there was no real consequence for it because their mother still hugged them in the end. And so in their mind, violence, cruelty, inauthenticity, and uncaring all sort of got twisted together, right? Um, and that's why Jax pushes the other characters away, right? Because they deep down don't like themselves and don't think anyone else would like their authentic self either. And so they just give up on this idea of authenticity altogether and just say, oh, it's a cartoon, it's a game, it's not real, none of this really matters. Why care about anybody, right? But if they actually believed that as much as they claim to, they would not have abstracted from the despair of that loneliness and from the despair of all the friends they'd pushed away and abstracted due to that misguided, apathetic persona, right? Bobby, aka Anarchomania here, and Liberty, Equality, Fraternity, goodbye.